After making the headlines for two terrible tragedies, how is Malaysia Airlines still in business today? There have been a few ups and several downs in the recent history of the airline, with the disappearance of Flight MH370 being one of the biggest stories attached to its name. From bankruptcy to crashes, here's an account of the messy decade Malaysia Airlines has faced. Stay tuned to find out everything you need to know about the feared airline. About the company and airline. For a lot of people, the only association with Malaysia Airlines is tied to one of the biggest aviation mysteries, the disappearance of Flight MH370. While it's an affiliation the company will likely never be able to let go of, there's a lot more to know. Let's go over Malaysia Airlines at a glance before diving deeper. The commercial airline began in 1947, and since its introduction has been rebranded multiple times. The airline is a sub-business of the larger Malaysia Aviation Group. This arrangement has been in place since September 2015 and is a global aviation organization with a variety of aviation portfolios and businesses under its wing. Next, the airline is the national carrier of Malaysia, offering one of the most convenient ways to travel around the country. The airline flies nearly 40,000 passengers daily to more than 50 destinations, including international routes. In fact, this Asian carrier has more than 300 daily flights. The airline was reliable and had a good reputation internationally. Customers and passengers ranked the in-flight service as one of the best in the region, up until tragedy struck. Until this, the airline carrier's safety record also remained positive and accident-free. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. There's a reason Malaysia Airlines has had some troubles. The tragedy of Flight MH370 is one of the biggest stains on the legacy of the airline's reputation. In 2014, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 passengers and crew took flight from Kuala Lumpur International Airport heading toward Beijing. Nearly 40 minutes into the flight, ground control lost all communication with the aircraft. Ever since the final contact, the flight has been missing with no definitive evidence or explanation into what exactly happened to the aircraft and its passengers on board. A search mission that lasted years was met with several twists and difficulties, ranging from not knowing the exact route the flight took to not identifying the estimated crash site, trickled with every conspiracy theory you can think of. Years later, with no indisputable debris of aircraft evidence, the disappearance remains one of the biggest aviation mysteries to date. Adding fire to the flames. Malaysia Airlines' troubles were far from over. Roughly 4 months after the first tragedy, another struck. Flight MH17 was shot down over Ukrainian airspace by a ground-to-air missile. Tragically, another 298 passengers and crew never made it back home. While this tragedy was less of an accident and rather a planned attack, its impact was felt on the company nonetheless. Naturally, two major tragedies in the span of less than 6 months was an earthquake in terms of business, making international headlines. The two disasters were the final straw and resulted in an already struggling business spiraling out of control. Paired with tough competition, things weren't looking too great for the airline. Tough times. In 2014, naturally, the airline took a hit. This became the reason the company and airline were in deep waters. The same year, things really took a turn for the worse as the airline filed for bankruptcy. The company had already been in trouble for a while, but with the recent back-to-back tragedies, this was the final nail in the coffin. The financial losses became difficult to cope with, and the Malaysian government had to bail out the company with a $1 billion investment. The company also had to deal with mistrust and fear towards the airline after the two tragedies it suffered. Mistrust of the airline lasted years, and the company was unable to fill flights. Consequently, the airline was forced into nationalization. This meant that Malaysia Airlines would be fully government-owned. Malaysia Airlines had to step things up to stay in business, something their newest CEO intended to do. In 2015, Christoph Mueller made attempts to turn the fate of the airline around and shaved down the staff and readjusted the route network, keeping the focus on Asia. Another move the company made to get some money in the bank was to put some of its A380s up for sale. However, soon after, the airline announced that they would be adding 4 Airbus A350-900s to their fleet. The Renaissance. Now, that was a dull period in the company and the airline's history, but despite the odds stacked against them, things started to turn over. The company's revival wasn't a feat to be achieved overnight and took years of restructuring to finally come around. Things had to change for Malaysia Airlines to stay afloat in an increasingly competitive market. The first step was cutting out the dead weight. An intensive restructuring plan was the first step and helped slash the company's liabilities by over $3.3 billion. Additionally, they were able to reduce debt by $2.2 billion and shrink the company's size overall. The company's stakeholders also swooped in to rescue the company from its impending doom. Sole shareholder Khazanah Nasional Berhad put in over $800,000 as fresh capital to help fund the restructuring up until 2025. The airline itself also wisened up and reduced structural costs, deferred its non-essential investments, and conserved cash. Friends from abroad also swooped in to help the company recover. In February 2021, the London High Court sanctioned an arrangement between the airline to restructure the corporation's lease contracts. In terms of the fleet the airline was operating, changes had to be made to stay afloat. Malaysia Airlines revisited its contract with Boeing for 25 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft, including opting to lease from the Air Lease Corporation instead of purchasing. Here comes the sun. It took them a while, but Malaysia Airlines is still in business today and ready to take you to all your favorite destinations. Slowly but surely, Malaysia Airlines has finally bounced back from the string of tragedies in its past. The airline has gradually started reopening international routes and has seen an increase in customer demand and sales. The group's cash balance has also restabilized over the years. Aside from passenger travel, cargo transportation is also a huge area of the airline's revenue. Cargo operations have also seen a boost, as the region's demand for cargo movement is expected to increase by 5%. Malaysia Airlines is currently expanding its routes with flights going all over the globe, including routes to Australia, Japan, and Qatar. The airline is also trying to get back into the customer service game and hopes to keep its passengers happy in the sky. Malaysia Airlines reopened its Golden Lounge at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Let's talk about the airline's fleet and all it has to offer. Without a fleet of aircraft, an airline is nothing. A diversity of models helps the airline diversify into different types of travel and allows it to access a variety of locations all over the world. The airline's most popular model in its fleet is the Boeing 737-800, although Malaysia Airlines has comfortably relied on Airbus as well. The airline's fleet includes models of the A330-200, A330-300, and the A350. The airline has a great range of aircraft, allowing them to carry large numbers of passengers, as well as make it to a variety of locations around the world. Leadership. Isham Ismail is a current CEO of Malaysia Airlines Group, with over 4 decades of experience in the airline industry. In fact, he's a former pilot and began his career with Malaysia Airlines. On the rise. The unaudited results for the 2022 year recorded a net operating profit of $125 million. The company employs nearly 12,000 people across 53 cities. In fact, the airline is hiring new employees and is looking for some new talent. Pilot shortage. The airline has over 900 active qualified pilots, but this number is not helping to stabilize company demand and operations. The national carrier needs to recruit new pilots to normalize its systems. This shortage of pilots is not only in Asia, but globally. The COVID-19 pandemic was a contributing factor, but the shortage of pilots is expected to get worse and increase in numbers over the next decade. Summing it up. Would you book a flight with Malaysia Airlines, or are you too afraid, given the not-so-nice past the airline has had? Regardless of the terrible luck the company has run into over the past decade, things seem to be looking up. With the right leadership, any business can turn around. Do you think the future is looking good for Malaysia Airlines? Comment your thoughts down below.